Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Salesforce Simplified. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. Derek, I'm sorry we don't have intro music. I do a lot of podcasts, and to be honest, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I get 30 seconds to a minute worth of intro music. I'm like, damn, I wish they would skip that
Some
and
of
just
them have pretty good intro music, though. I'll be
it,
honest. Like some
it is
some of them
good.
have some good stuff.
Yeah, that's true. But I am glad that we get straight to the topic. Let me get to one topic quick, and that is if you're a customer out there struggling with Salesforce, and we know there are a lot of them, not because the product's not great, the platform is fantastic. It's the implementation is big and complex and scary, and lots of things you could do right, a lot of things you can do wrong, a lot of things you shouldn't do on your own. That's why we're here to help. That's why we do this podcast. I've got Derek Cassibs with me. Derek is really an expert on rolling out Salesforce and continuing to tweak it and optimize it in the appropriate way. Derek, how's it going?
It's going good, going real good. And I just want to add something to what you just said, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Even if you're not struggling per se with Salesforce, maybe you're just feeling like you're not getting enough out of it as well, right? Because that's another big thing. I'll compare it to me taking my car to to the shop. I may or may not know what they're doing to it, and there may be things that I could be doing better, and I just don't know. What you don't know, you don't know,
Yeah.
right? And so that we're also there to try to educate as much as possible so that you get as much as possible out of Salesforce.
I mean, compared to my Jeep, right? I got a Wrangler Jeep that I want to take off road, and I have. Well, actually, I haven't taken that one off road. I want to. I've had it for a year and a half now. One, I needed some friends to go with. That's number one. Number two, I would love it if I had a friend that had like some of the equipment you need, so I didn't have to go out and buy everything I need in order to go for
Yeah.
this one first run. I need to buy an air down kit. I don't know if you know an air down kit, but it's where you let the tires out of the air out of the big tires. It's like $60. I would rather just have a friend bring that, so I didn't have to buy it the first time I went, as an example.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. I bring it up because like I've had I have a Hyundai Sonata. I've had it since 2015, and I just had it serviced, and the mechanic he and I were talking. He's like, you know what that does? And he's pointing to a button that says auto hold. I'm like, I have no idea what that does.
Hmm.
Never pushed it, never used it, don't know what it does. And he's like, well, if you have that turned on, then when you come to a stop, you can let off the brake and the car will just stay there until you give it gas again. Like I had no idea I had that feature in my car.
Yeah,
And it's not like it's not like I couldn't use my car, but I wasn't using the feature that came with it. So,
yeah. Nobody knows everything,
yep.
and if they say they do, then they definitely don't.
Yeah.
All right. The blog you brought today is called Salesforce Industries, a comprehensive overview of industry-specific solutions. And I'm going to add within the platform. This is from Dmitry Lichki. Did I say his name right?
Light check maybe.
I didn't come close. Lychek. I'll go with your Lychek. That's from July of 2023 is when this article came out. Everything in it still applies. That's what we're going to cover today.
Yes.
So Derek, I'll tee us up and then you straighten me out. I understand Salesforce as the platform that it is, and it comes out of the box right off the web, ready to go to do a lot of things. But I think Salesforce, they highlight in the intro here that even pre-pandemic, but certainly during the pandemic, it was this digital transformation is happening across lots of industries, and they needed specific industry focused pieces of Salesforce in order to be able to align with what the industry needed. Is that close?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, this is a pretty important piece to understand around Salesforce because Salesforce is, I still think, the most customizable platform on the planet. And because of that, um, you can get bogged down in how do we even get where we need to go, right? And so, for example, if you're a healthcare customer, how do you even build something that you need? If you're financial, how do you get where you need to go? And it also, what we're going to address is for those that are listening that think of Salesforce as account, opportunity, contacts, and leads.
Yeah.
Like that is Sales Cloud. That's where it was born, obviously, CRM, right? Um, Customer relationship management. But there's so much more to that. So what if your business doesn't call it an account, right? So the idea behind this is you could certainly hire a developer, architect, somebody that really understands the platform and pay them to build custom objects, put the fields on there, name things the way you want it, bring in the the processes, and you could make these yourself. But that's the whole point, right? Is that you're getting pre-built data models,
Yeah.
workflows, business processes, but it's business processes that are modeled by the industry, by Salesforce's customers.
Yeah.
So you start at a really good spot when you come into these industry solutions.
You kind of align with the research other people have done on what the industry calls an account, right? We might call it a customer, we might call it, I don't know, an object. I don't know, but it should be somewhat aligned with what the rest of the world calls it so that you're not reinventing the whole concept.
Well, yeah, I mean, so in sales, it's an account and a contact. In healthcare, it's a patient and a family. In higher ed, it's a student, right? In manufacturing, it's probably an item. I mean, everybody has different language that's important, and that's what makes Salesforce so powerful, is because you can rename objects and reuse standard objects to do different things.
Right. So I'm looking into the blog or the article here a little bit, and it's things you'll learn. Talks about automotive cloud, communications cloud, consumer goods cloud, education cloud, energy and utilities cloud, financial services, government cloud. Those were two different ones. Health cloud, manufacturing cloud, media cloud, nonprofit cloud, which you and I have actually talked about. I bet there's more than that at this point, but certainly something to dive into.
Yeah, so if you go to salesforce.com and then at the top and hit um, their industries drop down, you'll see the current list. And there's a lot, right? I mean, there's even, and this is just industries too, keep in mind. So you're not going to see like net zero cloud or loyalty cloud or service cloud or marketing cloud, right?
I screwed up on the URL.
So I paused because Andy had a big red web page saying that something was not happy. And so it's the way that you have like your core foundational clouds, right? Sales, service, marketing. And then you have industry clouds. And that's what we're talking about today. And the reason we're doing that is because Salesforce plays everywhere. Like I still don't know. Find me somewhere that you can't use this platform to solve business problems. I want to know what that is because I haven't been able to do it yet. Yep. So you're looking at it right there, right? Automotive, communication, consumer goods, education, manufacturing, public sector, nonprofit, media, retail, technology. Yes, technology. It's an application server. Travel, hospitality, transportation, professional services. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's impressive, right? So let's start. I mean, so we're not obviously going to be able to get into all of these, but we're going to kind of cruise through. We may stop on a couple of the bigger ones and talk a little bit more about them, but we can start with automotive cloud. I mean, and this may actually kind of, highlight what we're talking about because a lot of people may not even think that an automotive customer is using Salesforce. Or if they ask an automotive customer, they'd be like, you're using Salesforce, they're thinking about account, opportunity, contact, lead, right? That's what they're thinking when they ask that question. What they're not thinking about is a vehicle console, right? Where you get quick access to the vehicle details, warranties, delivery reports, service reports, right? The stuff that the guy behind the service counter is looking at when you drop your car off. That is and can be powered by Salesforce, right? It allows capturing and identifying information about spare parts, accessories, test drive schedules, like all of that stuff is customly developed in the automotive cloud data model.
And if you're Ford or General Motors or Tesla, maybe you build your own, but the rest of the world, not so certain they should do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because again, these are what I'm trying to do is bring to the surface areas that people would be surprised to hear Salesforce is doing something. And when I joined Salesforce, I was surprised almost every other day. I was like, what? Like, I mean, Salesforce was huge during the pandemic. I mean, we had vaccine cloud. We were working on all kinds of stuff to speed up the ability to give vaccines to people. And, it just speaks volumes to how configurable this is. Which again is why there are so many folks out there that need help with this because you may not realize it's so configurable. You probably have overlap. You probably own Salesforce and you bought some other third-party product to do what Salesforce could do for you.
Yeah. And you got a choice. You can write it from scratch, or you can build it on a platform which is extremely extensible and is going to allow you to zig when you need to zig, zag when you need to zag, or go whatever direction you need to.
Yeah, I look at it like too, there's a benefit of that. It's, build versus buy mentality. And sure, you could build it if you have the expertise, but then you own it. It's yours forever. Um, if you buy it, so if you're purchasing into one of these clouds, you're getting the benefit of all the work and the engine that is Salesforce that they're putting into these clouds that you get to benefit from. So if they add new features, or maybe there's new, industry specific regulations, like you get all of that you would have to build yourself if you build it.
Right. Yeah. And
Yep.
nobody, for the most part, nobody should want that.
Yeah, I wouldn't think
They
that
should
you'd
want to do it themselves.
I wouldn't think that you'd want that. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, communications cloud, and I'll be honest, right? So when I was at Salesforce, I was in health and life sciences. And so I spent, and so Salesforce is verticalized for various, obvious reasons. I mean, there's so much to it, but communication cloud, if you think about it, it's, and I've got this pulled up over here, but think about subscription communications, right? Fiber, 5G, cable modem, things like that. So there's a use case that Nokia did with Salesforce, creating value in 5G, right? And so they created a personalized service to deliver 5G services to their customers, all back-ended by the Salesforce Communication Cloud platform, right? And then, so there you go. There's like another, okay, you've got a communication, so internet, voice, what have you, customer leveraging this platform because of the out of the box pieces that it brings. So think telecom, mobile services, video conferencing companies, things like that.
Yeah. So Derek, where do we want to go? Because we got all these different industry
I
specific.
want to go down to education cloud next. And reason being is that we have some ties to education, higher ed in the past.
Yeah.
So worked at University of North Carolina at Greensboro for a long time. We didn't have Salesforce back then at UNCG, but you may be saying, okay, well, how does this play, right? How does higher ed leverage this? And so a couple use cases to think about when you think about this, right? Recruitment and admissions, student success, digital campus concepts, remote learning, distance learning, marketing, communications. So think about wrapping all of that up on a single platform for a university, for a higher ed institution, parents portal, gift entry. So there's just a whole lot of use cases around this, but again, the data model is going to map to, like class, student, alumni, like all those objects are going to be there for you, and it's going to align with the industry. So for, any universities out there, schools that, if you haven't looked at Salesforce solutions for education, you should, because it's impressive. Okay. And so now let's see, where are we at here? So education, I want to jump down to, okay, this is another big one. Financial services cloud. Now, this is a big boy in the industry's portfolio. And this is where you're going to start thinking about banking, insurance, asset management. So you've got, again, the data model, the workflows, the regulations, all that stuff that's built into this cloud specifically for this type of an environment, right? So it comes with event monitoring, field audit trail, because, auditing and maintaining, encrypted fields and all that stuff is important. So again, not only are we talking about data model and workflow, but if there are specific features that are needed in the industry, like when we get to health cloud with HIPAA, like that's going to come along with it, right? If you were to roll your own, you would need to make sure that what you build gets certified and meets the requirements of whatever regulations that you have to follow. Or you buy into one of these clouds, you solve that problem with, out of the box solutions.
Yeah, because that you solve the problem from day one, or as the cloud, as the regulations mature and evolve, the cloud's going to go that direction, and you go with that.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is that's what you're buying into, is that Salesforce is providing this solution for you. And so let them fight the battle of making sure that it's, up to par on all the regulations in your industry so that you don't have to go do that. You can focus on what the whole reason you're doing this isn't to do it. Like, we're not buying tech to do tech. At the end of the day, we're buying this stuff so that we can get to our customers and provide a better service to our customers instead of like dealing with paperwork and, regulation, stuff that you have to do where you have to go submit papers and all that. Let them do that. Right.
Right.
And, and Salesforce will be up, they'll, if you go, there's pages where they'll tell you where they are with certain things with, HIPAA and, all that stuff, especially around, the government cloud. There's all kinds of, requirements there, and you can see exactly where each product is.
Right.
So government cloud, think of any federal, state, local government agency that needs, we were just talking about it, right? That needs to have compliance. So FedRAMP, maybe they need, certain DoD levels of encryption. Maybe they need, what have you. But this is where the government cloud comes into play.
And
Yeah,
Derek, I'm seeing.
public sector. And so I'm glad you pulled that up, because in this article, they're calling it government cloud. It's really public sector is where this falls in. And then you can see, yeah, in the public sector section, you can see government cloud, public sector apps. You see it all in there. It's all part of the
Yeah,
public sector section of the industry.
yeah, it looks like it's probably evolved from government cloud is now turned into, well, it actually has a design specifically for federal, state, local defense, intelligence agencies, aerospace.
Yep, that is true. That is correct. So okay, next one we got to stop on is Health Cloud. And this is obviously this is where I came from. So I have quite a bit of experience with Health Cloud as it pertains to how it's used and use cases. So think of providers, right? Providing care and care coordination for patients. So Health Cloud can give you that 360 view of a patient and all their data, right? Making sure that you have information on medical history, appointments, medication, what is their family, who in their family, like, do they have relatives that they live near them? Are they on certain like regiments? All of that in one platform, right? So think of like patient care coordination, real-time engagement with from the care coordinator to the patient, right? So providers. Then you have the other side of that. You have payers. So, thinking about personalized interactions with like insurance and making sure that you have appropriate coverage. You've got interesting stuff like, so with the payer side of it, you've got engagement points so that you can, at the time that maybe somebody's calling in, you can get that information like right then on the phone, right? So pull up their information and or tell them why something, why they're not covered on something. So it's really around the payer. So we got payer provider, we got pharma and biotech, med device companies. And recently, aside from Health Cloud, is the recently announced Life Sciences Cloud, right? And there used to not be a Life Sciences Cloud. It's not on the article, but Life Sciences is clinical. And like, think of trials, right? Medication trials or drug development.
Yeah.
And so they now have, so that used to be a gap in that world, right? Where there was Health Cloud, but there wasn't anything specific to Life Sciences Cloud. And now there is, which is pretty cool. And so, you've got companies like Takeda and Moderna, right? Everybody knows Moderna from the pandemic days, but they're all leveraging the Life Sciences Cloud for various aspects of their business. So Health Cloud is a very important piece of the puzzle. The next thing somebody might be saying, yeah, well, okay, well, we got EHR. right? How does the EHR play with Health Cloud? And it's important to really kind of talk about this very briefly in that, like, the EHRs have been around forever. You get your Epics and your Cerners and what have you, and they do a really good job at all the like clinical data that's coming in. Um, but it's very rigid. Like from a customization perspective,
Yeah.
uh, at least from what I've seen, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. So
Yeah.
providing like this end-to-end experience for patients and or providers and whatnot is very limited. So what you do is you front end that with Salesforce Health Cloud, and then you API access, or with MuleSoft, the data that's in the HRs, right? So they work hand in hand. They each have their spot.
I can't think of an industry more than healthcare that needs specialized, but yet platform based.
Yes. Yep. All right. So touch on a couple of the big ones. Manufacturing cloud is another big one, right? And so it's distributors, suppliers is who this is really for. They, some of the specific things in here, and I don't have as much experience with the manufacturing cloud piece, but it's similar, right? It's like account-based forecasting. So there's a sales aspect to that, but it's a sales aspect as it pertains to manufacturing, right? So it's going to have that data model, that workflow, and that's going to be the redundant theme here, is that you're buying into the industry language, if you will.
Right. Yeah. So you got the platform it's based on, but industry specific language that allows you to speak the same language as others in your industry, but then customize what you need.
Yes.
That sounds really.
So the next one, let's go to nonprofit cloud, because this is important. And we've done a pod on the nonprofit cloud. We've talked about it before. There used to be the nonprofit success pack. So this is, it's fundraising, it's grants, it's donations, it's marketing and engagement, program management. That's what you're getting when you buy into nonprofit cloud for nonprofits. It's from the charitable organizations, and it's really like the idea behind all of these is to have you focus on the stuff that's important and not getting to the stuff that's important, right? Let's not spend 2 years building the house. Let's start with a house, and let's start connecting with our customers. Okay. So let's go to the top here. We talked about, automotive cloud, communication cloud, education. So there's another one. I mean, there's consumer goods or retail cloud, right? So there's a whole piece of Salesforce where you can have a storefront and people can buy things from the store, and you probably have already used one of these. I know that Adidas was a big customer. If you go and buy stuff off their site, there's a bunch of customers that are using this to build to build web stores, but also to combine brick and mortar with web presence, right? So that you have a personalized experience when you walk into a store. So they can say, "Oh, hi, Derek. I see that, you purchased this mountain bike a couple weeks ago," like if I was an REI, what have you, but they know who I am, and they can say, "We've got this on sale. If you need any help, let us know." But a much more personalized experience connecting all my touch points, right? So there's a whole piece of the puzzle when it comes to retail cloud and consumer goods cloud. There's a ton of use cases and customer success stories on the website about each one of these, which could, each one of these clouds could be a podcast, quite frankly. Like you could dig into each one of these.
And the podcast or a whole series, really.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to these that what I'm trying to do is paint the picture of it's almost limitless if you think about this platform and what you can accomplish with like molding this after your business. It's not just, do you do Salesforce to sell something for account, and do you have accounts, opportunities, leads, and contacts, right? That's where it was born from. A lot of people are using this for things way outside that. One thing I also want to drive home is just the platform. Let's take these clouds out of the picture for a second. Just the Salesforce platform. I sent you, there's another link I sent you. Yes. Okay. So Andy, you were at Dreamforce last September with me. I don't know if did you use the app for the event?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So that app was built on the Salesforce platform. It was a mobile app, but the platform in itself is an application platform. And I like to give the example when I was learning this, when I got hired into Salesforce and I was trying to get away from my mentality of Sales Cloud, I built kind of a fictitious NFL team because I had to kind of wrap my head around the fact that this was way more than that. And so you have the ability to build anything you want with a platform license that may not fit the mold of an industry, may not be service, maybe something totally outside the box, like an event. So what Salesforce did here was they created an event app that's all based on, records and objects and, automations and flows and and obviously records for people in Salesforce platform. And then they expose it via the mobile app so people can actually leverage it. Right. And so I'm showing this because this kind of tears down the walls of that you have to fit in one of these models. You really don't. Like, I'm huge in fantasy football. I could run my entire fantasy football league off of Salesforce if I wanted to,
Right.
right? I could build, I mean, it kind of the sky's the limit, right? I think back to when I interviewed, there's a guy that, and it's still out there if you search it, but he created a Minecraft level with his Salesforce so that he could walk around and look at his accounts and pull levers for his opportunities. So it's just, there's so much to this platform. I think it's important to understand that um, if you're still thinking about Salesforce as a CRM and a CRM only, you're missing out on a lot of potential opportunity to buy into this platform and leverage all the other things that come along with being a part of it, like the AI, like the generative AI piece, the fact that so I could be a one-person business that bought into one of these solutions, and I get the same AI capabilities that, you know, a huge fortune, like a Verizon or a huge corporation would have. I get the same access to that type of AI.
Right.
Uh, so it's really important. And then another one I sent you, there's one more link on there. Go to the third one because this will kind of bridge the gap a little bit to some of the stuff that we've done, like Okta, right? So everybody's in the IT or in the IT space is familiar with Okta. But here's an app that was created within Salesforce to expedite pricing and packaging for pro services. It has nothing to do with an account, a contact, or an opportunity, right? It's just an app that was built on the platform because the platform is so flexible. It's declarative, which means that you don't have to know how to code. I mean, there are some circumstances where you do, but for the most part, you don't need to know how to code. It's drag and drop. It's declarative development. And then going mobile is, for somebody that used to write code for Palm Pilots way back in the day, like the way you can go mobile now so easily just blows my mind. So it's a very, very impressive platform. It's way more than sales. It's way more than just service or marketing. And I haven't even gotten into the whole like velocity and Omni Studio pieces that come along with these industries. So with these industries, you get extra stuff. And maybe we'll get into that stuff on a future podcast. But I think that I've kind of drilled home what I wanted to do, which was just, peel back the onion and get away from the traditional concepts of Salesforce and, shine a light on some of the other things that are all, that are mainstream for Salesforce. Like they're doing a lot of business in all these areas.
Yeah. It's truly limitless and a great equalizer, like you were saying, for smaller, medium, large companies that don't want to write this stuff from scratch. And even the big ones, the enterprises shouldn't be writing it from scratch, but historically they have. I think they've gotten smarter and they're starting to do it on platforms that then enable, the AI and the mobility, like you're talking about here.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's cloud hosted. All that part goes away too. The infrastructure.
Yeah. The infrastructure goes away. It's, I mean, you do, obviously, your internet connection becomes very, very important. There are solutions that are offline within Salesforce. There's like field service. You've got offline capabilities for people that are out in remote locations where they don't have access to internet. There's all that stuff has been thought of. So where we can help, like this is the type of stuff, I love having these conversations. What are you doing? What is your business doing? Where are you struggling? Do you have 500 apps and you can reduce that down and start doing one, have one dedicated platform?
Yeah.
That's transformational. That's the type of stuff that, can really help an organization prepare for the next 5, 10 years, especially if, you want to get to the cool stuff. You want to get to the AI and all, what's next, right?
Which everybody either does know that or they will know that they want that.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it, the companies that embrace the AI and leverage it in ways that help them connect to their customers and leverage it ethically and correctly are the ones that are going to succeed. And then there are going to be those that maybe don't look at it like they maybe look at it like the next, NFT or something that just is a fad. And unfortunately, I think that they're going to get left behind on this one. So,
Yeah, it may not be obvious overnight, but eventually, yeah, the people who can leverage the AI as a tool for whatever purpose, marketing, follow up, being proactive about who to reach out to, just serving your customer better, no matter who the customer is, even if it's internal employees, those are the people that are going to succeed.
yep.
Yeah. Derek, it's probably not too late to start, not too early to start talking about Dreamforce 2024.
Yeah.
We're going to start trying to wrangle people up and going. What are you looking forward to?
Wow, I'm looking forward to all the new stuff that's coming out. But really, I'll be honest, like what I look forward to the most at Dreamforce is it's the community, right? It's meeting people that are solving these problems. I mean, you're going to go there and be wowed by something that you see, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, that's really awesome how they did that."
Yeah.
You're going to get a chance to see Gold Jackets, which are trailblazers that are doing stuff that's transformational in their space to help people. I just, it's just it's a really interesting experience across the board, and I'm looking forward to going with folks that we're helping, right? I mean, we're able to give Dreamforce passes at a discount, and we all go together.
And by discount, you mean like 90% off, starting at
Yeah,
90.
almost, yeah, like
Free.
seriously, almost free essentially, which is crazy, and I wish I had known that when I was, you know, wanting to go before Salesforce and all that stuff. But it's essentially free. You'd go with the XenTegra team. We'd go out. We'd have a good time. We'd learn, share
Yeah.
stories, get certified. It's just going to be a great time. And
Yeah.
then the other thing I did want to mention real quick too is if you're in the Greensboro area where I am, we're having an event on May 7th at Natty Greens.
Yeah.
Come down. We're going to talk about all kinds of cool stuff. I've got a data cloud instance that I can show. Not a big PowerPoint person, but I've got, we can go with any which way we want. I've got some topics to talk about, but it's to try to capture that what I just talked about, that like the essence of customers talking to customers. We're going to try to recreate that in the Triad. We're going to recreate that in other cities around the country and just kind of build out this community.
Yeah. It's definitely needed. Definitely needed. Well, Derek, we'll start socializing all those things more. And this alone, just today, the idea of helping me better understand these different industry specific cloud build outs that Salesforce has. I knew they had some. I didn't know it was this extensive.
Yeah. Yeah. And we didn't cover, I mean, we covered like, maybe half, if that. I mean, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, and growing. I'm sure. I'm sure there's others in the works as we speak.
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, they just announced Life Sciences Cloud. So, that what they do is they wait to make sure that there's enough demand. And then, if they're going to build a cloud and, there's enough demand and you're going to get a strong backing for it.
Yeah. All right, sir. Well, I look forward to having this conversation again in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Thanks.